come a good ways higher up in the section now. You can see that gate to the private driveway just at the bottom of the hill there, and as I pan across you'll see the continuing road cut along Corridor H, and the character of the sediments in the Foreknobs has considerably changed. We still see interbedded sands and shales, but they've become much more red and tan in color. Occasionally some of these red zones have mottling of green in them, which indicates the formation of paleosols, an actual exposure. So we have a marginal marine setting now which is extremely shallow, and we're going back and forth between flooded and exposed conditions in the uppermost part of the Foreknobs Formation here. Here in the upper Foreknobs we see really great examples of the abrupt shallowing and deepening that's occurring in this marginal marine environment, where sands and shales are interfingering around mudflats that occasionally were exposed, and we can see evidence of that in paleosols, one of which is here marked by the hammer. As I pan up and down the outcrop, you'll be able to see how it's related to the sands above and below it, probably indicating an isolated mudflat at some point along the marginal marine environment, the shoreline. And as I zoom in on the hammer here, we'll see if we can't see some of the color changes in the rock that indicate the modeling of most likely plant burrows or organisms that left behind organic matter that shows up as that greenish color against the red, more oxidized iron in the shale. And so the green is where the iron is reduced by the presence of organic matter, and that's a good indication of burrowing or the remnants of organics that may have been in a paleosol. As you move higher up in the section in the upper Foreknobs, you will still come across multiple zones of these rip-up clasts where the finer grain muddy material has been entrained in the currents of the sandstone. And you'll also begin to see the presence of plant fossils like this shiny carbonaceous specimen here. And these indicate the presence of a terrestrial regime not far offshore or in the midst of the depositional environment of the Foreknobs. You'll also occasionally find marine fossils, primarily brachiopods and crinoids, and once those disappear, you've gone through the transition from the marine environment into the terrestrial environment of the Hampshire Formation. Eventually, we lose the interlayered beige, tan, and reddish shales and sandstones of the Foreknobs. It's a very transitional change to where the marine fossils, when they finally disappear and the mud rip-ups disappear from the marine environment, we end up at a massive sand here along Corridor H, which forms the base of the Hampshire Formation. And above this sand, it's essentially all red mudstones and sandstones with some exposure surfaces, root casts, paleosols, and as we'll see later, maybe some lungfish burrows. We're now squarely in the middle of the Hampshire Formation, along a little side road off Corridor H called Diamond in the Rough Road. And here we can see the bedding in the Hampshire is beginning to really flatten out into the axis of a syncline. And this is actually the southernmost, near the southernmost extent of the Sidling Hill syncline that is so nicely exposed out in Maryland. From From this vantage point, we can see how nicely incised the channel sands are into the underlying reddish mudstones. And then the sands are again overlain by more mudstone as these channels meandered and migrated across a landscape that was probably quite arid and perhaps not unlike that of the continent of Australia on the western part that we can see today.